I wanted to do a short series of videos on primarily French knives that I've collected over the years. One of these knives is a French knife, the other one is a Swedish knife, so I'm going to go ahead and start with these, which I think are kind of interesting. This one is what they call a Swedish barrel knife. In some countries they call them Finnish knives. They seem to be fairly common in Europe, maybe not so much in the US, although I think they made a lot of these knives. Primarily these were made by Johan Engström, who was a manufacturer in Sweden in Eskilstuna between 1874 until he died in around 1915. It's kind of an interesting folding knife. It has a little bail here on the end, and there's a little spring steel piece of metal that's sticking out, and if you squeeze that and pull, the knife mechanism pulls out. Now if you can see on there, it has a JE for Johan Engström in 1874. All the knives that I've seen of this type are marked 1874, so I think that is just the date that he invented these or patented them. Not the actual date that it was manufactured, but all these knives again were manufactured primarily before 1915. So there's brass scales and the little lock mechanism in the bail on the end. The knife rotates around and it has a little pin for a stop. And then if you look at the knife handle, there's a T-shaped slot, and the T-shape is what that little locking mechanism here holds it in place. So you basically take it out, unfold it, and then click it back into place, and then you're left with a fairly sturdy knife that kind of looks like a current day oyster knife. The steel was fairly good. On the blade it's marked Johan Engström. It's kind of hard to see. Some of these are marked Sweden, which indicates that they were made for export. This one I found in Europe. I know I've seen them in a few cases in the US. I don't think they're particular uncommon, but in the US we don't really see them that often. Anyway, kind of a neat knife. They're generally not that expensive. They have nice curly birch handles, but just kind of an interesting folding knife variation. This particular version is a larger version made in France by Jean-Michel Rameau. The only place I've seen these are at Magasin Kindle in Paris, which is near Opera. It's a high-end knife store, and he makes reproductions of these barrel knives. They're made very, very nicely. Nice curly birch. You can get handles in other materials with stainless or brass bolsters. He's done some file work here on the end of the blade for decoration. It works the same way. You pinch the little steel tang. The steel is 12C27, which is pretty much the standard French stainless knife steel. Again, the blade rotates around. You can see the JMR mark on the handle and on the blade itself. And then you look for the slot and insert it the right way, and it clicks in place, and you have a nice working knife. There's a little bit of file work on the spine there as well. Very, very nicely made. Just a very pretty and very unusual knife that we don't see here in the States very often.